Today I'm going to be showing you how to create an ActionScript 3.0 preloader. So start by grabbing your rectangle tool, adding a stroke of 2, and I'm using a fill color of a gradient. You can go from solid to linear and then select the colors for your gradient. So I'm just going to drag out a preloader bar thing here, and there we go. I want my gradient to be up and down, so I'm going to grab my gradient transform tool, rotate it till it's straight up and down there, and then just drag this down to here. So now I have a nice gradient. Alright, what we're going to do is first center this. Looks good. And we're going to select the fill here. So as you know, I'm going to zoom in here. There is a stroke around the outside, and then there's a fill in the middle. We want to select the fill, hit F8, and we're going to call the fill preloader fill. And click OK, and we're also going to give it an instance name of that. Alright, so now what we need to do is add our text in. So I have dynamic text impact as the font, 16, black text color here, and we're going to set this to single line. So I'm just going to position this in the middle of our preloader here. And that's good. And we need to give this an instance name of, let's call it bytes percent, because it's going to display the number of bytes loaded in a percent. So that's good. So now what we need to do is select all of this, and we're going to hit F8, and it's going to be a movie clip, and we're going to call it, let's just call it preloader. That explains it. So this contains all of our stuff. So that'll be important later in our action script. So now let's add our content in. So we're going to name this first layer preloader. We're going to create another layer. We're going to call it content. And we're going to drag it out to the second layer because our first layer is just for our preloader. So on our second layer, let's put that at 100. I have a toucan picture we're going to use for content here. We're going to size it down. Put it right there. That looks good. Doesn't take up the whole space, but that's okay. So now we're ready to start adding action scripts. So click on your first frame here, and then click down here on actions frame. Start the action script with a stop action. So stop, open, close parenthesis, and then a semicolon. Then we're going to add an event listener. So add event listener, and we're going to put an open parenthesis. It's going to be an event dot enter frame, and then we're going to name a function called preload. That's going to be our entire function there. So we're going to hit enter a couple times, and we're going to name that function. So function space, well, not a parenthesis, preload, and then an open parenthesis. It's going to be an event, and then event, and we're going to put void because it's not returning any information. So we have a semicolon, or a colon, and then void, and then an open curly bracket. Hit enter a couple times, closing curly bracket, up arrow key. So now we're going to name some variables so it's a little bit easier for us to start naming things. So we're going to put variable, or var, and bytes to load, and it's going to be a number. And this variable is going to represent how many bytes are in the photo. So space equals space loader info dot bytes total. So that's the actual action script there, and this is the variable that we're calling all this into. So we're going to hit enter, and we're going to name another variable, so var, and then we're going to say number loaded. So this is going to represent the number of bytes that are already loaded, like kind of versus this other one is what we're going to write after that. So it's also going to be a number, and we're going to do space equals space loader info dot bytes loaded. Okay, and then we're going to finish it with a semicolon. So hit enter, and then we're going to write an if statement. So if space open parenthesis, and we're going to say if the bytes loaded, or bytes to load, space equal space, that shows if it's equal to the number loaded, which means that the entire image is done loading. Then we're going to do something, so close parenthesis, open curly bracket, hit enter. We're going to first remove this add event listener because we don't need that anymore. So we're going to copy that, paste it down here, and we're going to put remove instead of add. Wait, I spelled that wrong. Remove. And we're also going to need to go to our content. So we're going to go to and stop. And we're going to do that on frame 2 because that's where our content is. And then we're going to put a semicolon. So now we're going to hit enter. And we're going to close off the curly bracket. So if you know anything about ActionScript, you know if there's an if statement, there's going to need to be an else statement. So we're going to write that now. So we're going to put else right here, space, open curly bracket, enter. And now we're going to actually write the function that's going to scale the fill so that it displays with the number of %. So we're going to say preloader, preloader, because that's what we named this entire movie clip, which is in here. This whole thing together is, well, now I got to know that, preloader. Inside of that, we have preloader fill, so we're talking about the fill inside of this, dot scale x, so it's going to be scaling along the x, so it's going to be going this way, and it's going to start over here because that's what our registration point is set to. And we're going to do space equal space, and we're going to actually use number, we're going to have the number loaded, so the ones that are loaded so far, and then we're actually going to put a / for divided by the bytes to load, so out of the number of total. So then we're going to put a semicolon. So it's going to scale the number that's loaded by divided by the number to load. So we're going to make another one, and this one is going to show how much % we're going to display this kind of thing right here in a percentage, so it's easy for the viewer to see, so that they don't just see a bar and they have no clue what that means. So we're going to say preloader, I need a capital L here, dot, and then we have this, this is called our, what do we name this? Can't remember. It's inside all these movie clips. Oh, I remember, it was bytes %. That's what we named it. Alright. Bytes %. Alright, and it's going to be a text. We're going to want it to be written in text. We're going to do space equals space. We're going to type math, and then dot floor. And you're probably like, what does floor have to do with math? Pretty much what this means is it's going to round down so we don't have like 95.342%, because that would be kind of annoying to have in our thing. We just want a nice rounded off percentage. So we're going to have that, and then an open parenthesis, and we're going to take this right here, copy it, put it in here. So we're going to be rounding this whole thing. So right now it's in a decimal, and we're going to want to make it into a %. So we're going to multiply times 100 to move that decimal place two places, and close parenthesis, space, plus, space, quote mark, or open quote, %, close quote. And then we're going to put a semicolon. So pretty much this is just going to add a % at the end of our percentage, so that you can have a percentage sign. I mean, you can make that a money sign or whatever you want to make it, but that doesn't really make sense, so we're just going to put it at a %. So now we need to close off our curly bracket right here, and we already have our other one closed off, so it should work if we do control test movie. Oh, we have a problem. let's see. Undefined property preloader. Why is that? Alright, let's see. Oh, I forgot to give it an instance name. Alright, that solves that problem, so let's see what the other problem was. Oh, there was no other problem. That fixed it. Alright, so we're going to go to View, and because I already have this image on my computer, it's already downloaded, so you don't need to watch it download. So to see it, you can go to View, Simulate Download. And look at that. It is working. Perfect. So you can see how much there is left. You can see the percentage. And it's working perfectly. Alright, so if you like this tutorial, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to comment and rate also. And I will see you next week. Thanks.